one-time Thurman versus Brock Jarvis. Knuckleheads. Who made this fight? My goodness, I mean, as we sit here in an era with Turki Al-Sheikh and Eddie Hearn and DAZN and Dana White getting involved now, where they are trying to rid us of A-side versus B-side fights and give the fight fans and the boxing fans exactly what they want in the sport of boxing, which is 50-50 fights. You have this absolutely hideous red-headed stepchild that went down today in Sydney, Australia, and it went down like you were eating a bowl of rocks for Brock Jarvis. This absolutely hideous fight was terrible to watch, and it was sad to witness. A guy in Brock Jarvis who, no disrespect to him at all, had no business at all, not even one time, pun intended, in the ring at this juncture of his life versus a guy like Keith Thurman. Now, I know Keith hadn't fought but 3 times in the last 6 years, but let me remind you that Keith one-time Thurman, fellow Florida boy, much love to him, has been in there with some of the best to do it ever. And not only that, was a champion welterweight, the best welterweight at one point. People were saying this guy was the next big thing and the real deal at one point. What was he doing in there against a kid in Brock Jarvis, knuckleheads, whose best opponent was a Liam Paro that knocked him out in one round? A Liam Paro that's not known for his knockout punching power. Meanwhile, let's go through real quick, right? Some of the names on the resume of Keith one-time Thurman, because it needs to be brought up, because this guy has never ducked any sort of smoke in his life, right? Let's start when he won the WBO Intercontinental Welterweight title. That was against Jan Zavik, a decent fighter. Then he fought Diego Chavez, where he won the WBA Interim Welterweight title. Tough guy. Then Jesus Soto Carras. You guys remember him? The guy was a beast. Julio Diaz. Leonard Bundu. Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Luis Collazo. Sean Porter. He beat Sean Porter, and then he beat Danny Garcia, and then he beat the Riverside Rocky, Josecito Lopez, before going in there with one of the best to ever do it in Manny Pacquiao, right? Where he lost a very close fight. Had he not been dropped in that first round, he might have won that fight. Then he went on to beat Mario Barrios, a kid who ended up becoming a champion himself, and then got in there with Brock Jarvis, again, a guy who the best name on his resume was Liam Paro. I mean, listen, shout out to the promoter and the matchmaker for getting Jarvis this opportunity. If he was looking to cash out of the game, or maybe they're just trying to bring some buzz to the community down there in Australia, or to this kid. But my goodness, did this kid not belong in there with Keith Thurman. And it showed in that vicious finishing sequence where he hit him with like a 6-7 punch combination, including an uppercut, dropped him. The kid had the heart to get back up and then got stopped again. Brutal finish by Keith Thurman. And now they're talking about maybe he fights Tim Tszyu next, which I think makes a lot more sense, right? Considering Tim Tszyu is a quality fighter and has lost a couple in a row. Keith Thurman coming off of a win against a local guy, not too far from Tim Tszyu down there in Australia. Makes some sense, right? But Brock Jarvis, you guys, I mean, come on. You're going to put him in there with Keith one-time Thurman? What are we doing, knuckleheads? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Did you think that this fight was a fair fight? I know hindsight is 20/20, but look at the records. I mean, you got a guy with 24 fights versus a guy with 32 fights. You got a guy with world-class talent on his resume versus a guy who had come to fight in America one time. Barely left Australia ever for fights, right? Other than going to Thailand where you can get a fight, in Bangkok any day of the week against some Muay Thai fighters. I don't know, knuckleheads. This one is brutal. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. After you do that, subscribe to the channel. Join the channel. Help me continue to build this thing. Get your Fighters Rep merch in the link below. And I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this, because this one was hearkening back to the days of A-side and B-side.
Subscribe and join the Fighters Rep. It'll be the best thing you ever did. Knucklehead. Knucklehead.